Hey, everybody, and welcome to another week of Crunching Your Growth. And tonight we've got an exceptional guest. We're always trying to bring you somebody new and innovative. And I pride myself on some of the people that we've had on here, but I think tonight you're going to get a lot out of the guest. Jose Escobar. He's been a personal development speaker, or he is a personal development speaker. He's published 17 best-selling books. He leads two successful businesses. One is the Entrepreneur's Bookshelf. The other one is a Connected Leaders Academy, which in all transparency, I'm a member of, which I get a lot out of. It's a great sort of networking and mastermind group. But the thing that I found interesting, and the reason that I joined his group a while ago, was because he grew this to about 7 figures in 15 months organically. Not spending any money on ads, not doing all the traditional things, building a website, doing SEO and all that stuff. So he engages with entrepreneurs, with leaders. He's reaching over 30 million people through presentations, coaching programs. He works with a ton of entrepreneurs, a ton of coaches, and we'll have in the description of the show and all the information, links to his bio, links to his LinkedIn, and links to the Connected Leaders Academy and some of his other stuff. So if you're interested, go and check it out. There's a ton of great information. But let's bring him in. We'll go into his background because I'm sure he can talk about it a lot better than I can. So let's bring him in. Jose, thanks for taking the time to come on. Pleasure having you.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me on your show. I'm excited.
Yeah. It should be fun. Should be a great discussion. I'm happy about it, and I really wanted to touch on your journey, your inspiration for doing what you did, how you did it, how you got started, sort of your background and everything that led up to it.
Yeah. So first of all, happily married, 6 kids, and I live in Maryland. I've been in the corporate arena for 17 years, banking, insurance, property and casualty, you name it. Then I was a sales director for a global martial arts company. And as that took off and I did really well, I was helping a lot of amazing martial arts school owners make a lot of money. And I realized, you know what, my income is capped and these people are going up in their income. So I should probably start my own business, right? And that's when I decided to kind of go on my own. And I've been in business for going on January 15th. It'll be 3 years next month. And but in the first 15 months, I was able to come out the gate swinging. I started with a morning, evening routine mastery program that took off, and that inspired me to write my book called Winning the Day, which is behind me on the bookshelf there. And that became a bestseller. And then from there, I launched the Connected Leaders Academy, which is my subscription-based model of entrepreneurs globally. We started with one brave soul who signed up with me and said, "Hey, I'll join your group of me and you," And now we have 447 paid members in 46 states and 24 countries. I was able to scale a 7-figure business in 15 months organically with no tech, just all word of mouth.
That's amazing. That truly is a feat unto itself. And believe me, we do this every single day, and trying to scale to 7 figures organically in any business, I don't care what kind of business it is it's a difficult thing to do.
Yeah, it certainly isn't easy. Not for the faint of heart. For me, I'm a relationship builder, right? I think networking is networking. Building relationships is a whole separate, can of worms. And I'm all about serving people, building relationships, serving first and leading by front, being in the trenches. I'm not afraid of hard work. I'm not afraid of commitment and consistency and showing up authentically in everything that I do. And I realized the more people that I was helping and serving and just adding value to them and showing up in that way first, once I decided to start a business, people lined up because they know, like, and trust me already. And they were like, whatever you have to offer, we're kind of in. Let's see where it goes.
Yeah, that's an important point in any business because, we talk about this a lot in our business. We've worked with brands. We help brands scale. But today it's all about authenticity, because if you just want to get out there, like you said, there's networking, and then there's adding value to people, and there's authenticity and forming a relationship. And really the connection, it doesn't matter, again, whether you're selling the Connected Leaders Academy or whether you're selling a product, it's the same process. right? You have to form a connection. You have to form a connection with your customers, right? For you, those customers are people that are in the Connected Leaders Academy, people that you're interfacing with. And it's the same with building any brand. You've got to form a connection. You got to be authentic, because if you're not, especially today, people under 45, they reject it. They reject traditional advertising. They want to see authenticity. They want to build a connection. So I see a lot of similarities with what you do.
Absolutely. You're spot on. And that's what I love to do. I don't like showing up with, I don't know how many calls you've been on or that I've been on. I know how many I've been on. I've been on hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of calls with, prospective calls with people, and you're having that conversation just to build a relationship. And you got to kind of show up like this, wondering, what are they going to pitch me? What are they going to sell me? I think if we just kind of go into everything we do with the kind of mindset of like, how can I serve you? How can I help you? It's amazing how people will go to bat for you and doors start to open, and then relationships get built, and then business happens.
100%. It annoys me, actually, the amount of emails and the amount of LinkedIn messages I get from people that are just one way. It's just one-sided communication. Buy this from me. I'm going to 10x your business overnight. And you're going, come on. You can't make that claim, because you don't know how big my business is. So if I'm doing $10 million a year in revenue, you're going to tell me you're going to 10x me to 100 million? I don't think you're going to. And what we have the same problem, because obviously we do outreach to get more clients, and we've taken a totally different approach to doing it. And the way that we do it is, again, similar to what you're saying. We provide value before we even ask for a meeting. We've given them a ton of information about their business and their industry before we even gotten on a call with them.
Yep, that's powerful.
Yeah, it's very powerful, and it works. So, but what do you think were some of the key strategies? Because, again, for my own information, you grew this business organically. What do you think some of the key strategies and the decisions that you made to get that to scale the way you did in such a short period of time? If you don't mind sharing.
Of course. I'm an open book. Anybody who knows me knows that I'm willing to add value to people. I'm willing to give golden nuggets. And I think like the martial arts industry for a long time, because I worked in that space for many years, the martial arts industry is like, they're like, oh, I don't want to give my secrets to my fellow martial artists, because then they're going to take my students and it's going to be like a competitive thing. And I always said, your competition is not other martial arts schools. Your competition is soccer and basketball and all these other sports during certain seasons. That's the competition. It's not so much the martial arts school owners. So when it comes to the world of coaching, speaking, authors, and consulting, all that kind of stuff, I think the more we can help each other, right? A rising tide raises all ships. So I'm always looking to add value to people. And if somebody wants to do more business with me, there's always more to the story. So, but I don't necessarily give people like a little mini carrot and say, oh, there's more, but you got to pay me. Like it just, that happens organically, right? People will just want to pay you when you're adding value. And that's kind of the process. But in terms of a couple of basic strategies that I've done, first of all, I'm always showing up on social media. Right. My wife, for example, for many years, she would say to me, Jose, oh my gosh, we're having dinner and you're taking a picture of your food and you're going to post that, really? Or we're at this event, with family, you're taking a picture of our family as we're doing our thing. Or you're always on social media. Like, why are you? So I said, listen, everything I do is intentional, right? Because intentionality does matter.
Yeah.
Right? So what I do, everything I post on social media, first of all, what you're going to find is my faith. You're going to find my family. You're going to find inspirational, motivational type stuff. You're going to find business stuff, and you're going to find health and wellness, right? Those are the things that I talk about on my social media. I don't bring negativity. I have a certain kind of theme of what I do. I'm very transparent, right? Because nobody really wants to do business with your business. They want to do business with you as a person.
That's true. Right?
So, and my brand is me. I am the brand. And of course, there's colors, there's a logo, there's other things that come with it, but I have to be the brand. I have to be the person that, the way you see me with my family is the way you see me with my friends, is the way you see me with my clients, is the way you see me in church, is the way you see me everywhere, right? I'm the same guy all the time, just very transparent, very genuine, very authentic. So I post all the time on social media. Most people don't do that. I post 2 to 3 times a day. I go live daily. I do all kinds of things of that nature. So the more people see you, again, know, like, and trust, and you start to build a following, and you're always giving value and value and value. But outside of just value, you're also showing that you're a human.
Right.
I show my family values. I show my faith. I show all these things. And if you just are willing to show up that way and not make it all about business, but also let people know, hey, look, I'm human too, right? And this is how I live my life. It inspires people. And I think when you can inspire people, you can motivate people, you can equip people, and you can lead people in a direction where you want them to go. It's amazing the traction you get.
Yeah. Well, I think I'd be posting a lot. I used to post a lot more of my personal life on social when the kids were younger.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, when I used to tell people how many children I had, because I have 5, they would it would blow their heads off. And then you're talking about 6, which I applaud you for, because I personally love having I love my kids. I love having kids. Unfortunately, they grow up and then they leave and they become adults and then they start their own lives. But I think raising kids was just a great experience for me.
It's absolutely amazing. And by the way, if I look tired, it's because I am. I have a 7-week-old, right? So my 7-week-old does not let me sleep very well, and I've had a day full of calls, and I still have more things after this, right? So that's the nature of the beast, right? We have to be willing to put in the work. We have to be willing to put in the time. We have to be committed to anything that we do. So to answer your question in a little bit more depth in terms of some strategies, I just told you one. One is social media. You got to show up every single day. And it's not like when you feel like it, it's every single day. You just have to show up on social media every single day. A lot of people want to separate their business and their personal life. I don't recommend it. I think the best way to do it is to show up authentically and be truly transparent and vulnerable. Now, do you have to show the behind the scenes of everything? No, but you definitely want, there's a book, a great book written by Austin Kleon called Show Your Work. Phenomenal work. There's a difference between a painting and a painting, right? So there's the verb and there's a noun. The noun painting is a physical painting on the wall. It's a finished painting. I can just show it and people will be like, oh, that's lovely. Look at that. It looks awesome. And I can post that. It might get some traction. But if I post a painting, the verb, the process of me painting the painting, and I show the paints and where I bought the paints, I show the mistakes, I show the colors I had to combine to make this unique color, I show all of those things behind the curtain, that's going to get a lot more traction than just showing the finished product. Right. So people want to see your journey. People want to see the ebbs and flows, the highs and lows, the peaks and valleys. Right. So and it's not so much showing your negative stuff. It's just showing the reality because it's real. Right. In order for us to succeed in life, we got to fail first.
Oh,
right.
sure.
The most successful people in business have failed more times than everybody else. Right. So if I give you one more piece of it, I mean, I can keep going. It depends on how far you want to go down the rabbit hole on this show. But another thing I do is I go on events all the time. I speak on stages. Now, did I want to be a speaker? No, I didn't. I actually don't like speaking on stages. But over time, I had to adjust because I realized, okay, if I have a course, I probably should write a book and become the expert in that space and be the authority. So I wrote an authority book on the course. And then from there, I said, okay, I have a book and I have a course. I should probably get on stages and talk about it, right? Completing the triangle for more sales. So I started doing that. And I understand what you should be doing in a room, whether it's virtual or in person, before you get on the stage. I understand how to sell on the stage without selling, just planting subtle seeds indirectly. And then once you get off of the stage, I know what to do after to say, hey, you know what? I like you. I think you're amazing. I think what you're doing is powerful. Based on our conversation in the shoot in 2-3 minutes that we've had, I feel there's some synergy here. You know what? I suspect there's some potential win-win. Why don't we hop on a virtual coffee, which is my fancy term for a Zoom call? Let's connect after this event in the next 48 hours or so while we're top of mind with each other, and let's see what's there of anything. And that's how I build relationships. And it just happens to go and go and go. And then the third thing, if I had to throw one more thing, is referrals, right? Internal consumption. We all have so much potential profit, so many new clients right under our nose. The problem is we don't tell people and we don't ask people to refer. I always say, this is a coffee, for example. It tastes great. You need to try it. So I direct anybody who's doing business with me. I tell them, you inspect what you expect. I say, hey, listen, I would appreciate it if you would refer people to me. You know how many times I hear, oh my gosh, I love being a part of the CLA. I love the value you just gave me. I'm like, awesome. Yeah. Do you mind putting that in writing? Or do you mind connecting me to somebody who would be of value? And let me tell you how to do it. And then you tell them how to do it, and then they end up doing it. Because if you don't tell them how to do it, they do it one time, they do it wrong, or they get a bad response, they never want to do it again.
Yeah. Yeah. I find that with sales in general. People, when they get a bad response, they get negative feedback, or they get a rejection, it's very difficult to get them focused, you know. We have that problem because we're running a business and I can't do everything, and so I have people that are doing it, but they get very timid, and you try and explain to them and you try and coach them on, you're going to get rejections. Like
Right.
for us, we're going to get rejections. It's just the way our world works. I wish we could close 50 or 60% of the deals that come in front of us, but some of them we choose not to take just because it doesn't fit into what we're trying to do for us, because we're building a brand ourselves, and we only work with very specific types of brands that we know we can make a difference, because I don't want to take clients that I can't make a difference for. I can't make a difference for a seller, just a guy who's transactional and wants to just get on Amazon or get on e-commerce and sell Crest toothpaste or Listerine because there's a million other guys out there doing it. Because then the only differentiating point you have is price. So we can't do that. What our goal in life is to find, we work with a very simple quadrant grid. And it's either you're different, you're better, you're different and better, or you're none. And that's how we sort of evaluate things. Being different and better is always the ultimate, but you can make a great brand by being better. You can make a great brand by being different. You can't make a great brand by just being neither. And that's sort of how we evaluate potential clients, to be honest.
Yeah.
But we're very focused about how we do outreach, because we know ahead of time who we're going after and why we're going after them. So we can, again, it goes back to what you're saying, because we can add significant value to somebody when we go and target them, because we've analyzed their business, we know what they're doing, and we can go in there and say, look, here are 10 things you can do to improve your business. And then, we give them some other information, and they want to get on a phone call with us because they want to talk about it.
Yep.
So yeah, I agree wholeheartedly with what you're saying and what your process is. But the next point that I was thinking about while you were saying it was exactly what you said, which is, sort of mastering the sales element of it, because not everybody can do it. I know that very few people in my organization are really good at the selling part. They're good at other pieces to it, but when it comes to the selling and the closing, that becomes more difficult.
So in terms of sales, first of all, that's my bread and butter. Okay. So I absolutely love sales. I'm infatuated with sales. I am obsessed with sales, right? I've been in the sales space for, I don't know, 27 years now. And I just enjoy the art of sales because it's an art form, right? It's just, there's like a flow and there's a process and we never arrive in sales. I don't care how good you are in sales, there's always more to learn and you can always be better, right? But I would consider myself to be a strong salesperson. I have well over 80% closing ratio in terms of generally speaking, because I follow my numbers, right? Metrics are important and numbers don't lie. So usually if I go to an event and I meet people that I don't know, I'm not going to try to talk to everyone. I'm going to talk to the people that I feel are movers and shakers, people I feel I connect with, people that I feel based on what they do for a living in their business would be a good asset to the community. And I specifically talk to certain people. Now, if I talk to 10 people, I will close 8, maybe 9. Right? Because I have already kind of very quickly pre-vetted them based on initial questions that I ask, very strategic, right? And then from there, you hop on a call and I recommend 30 minutes of sales training every single day. And that's a huge thing. And most people don't do that. Most people just don't do that. And some people don't like to sell. And I like to say that if you don't like to sell, it's because you're probably not that good. And it makes you uncomfortable, right? It makes you uncomfortable because you lack the skill set, and lacking the skill equals lack of confidence. And if you want to increase your confidence, you just got to be better at the thing, and you got to put the time in to be better.
Yeah. I totally agree. I'm guilty of it. I am more focused on solving the problem than I am on selling. Fortunately, we have a partner. I acquired a business a couple of years ago, and I acquired a great guy who loves to sell. He loves to interact with people, and that's what his goal is. I'm more of I like to solve the problem. I love it when a brand comes and says, I don't know what's happening. Where sales are declining every year, and blah, blah, blah. I can figure that problem out, and I love it, and I love that part of it. But it's not that I don't like selling. I do like selling. I do like getting on the calls. I do like pitching. I do like doing the outreach. I like the strategy of it all. but there's only so much you can do in a day. For me, your whole life, that's what your world is, right? You're focused on selling. That's your bread and butter. That's how you have to continue to build your business. For us, it's once we get a client in, it's about keeping that client and living up to the promises we made, living up to the goals we set, and saying, this is how we have to get there. So, and that takes a bit of time for us. So, but you've talked about now doing sales training 30 minutes every day and other things. So I would imagine that you have sort of a personal development plan in your head, or maybe it's written down or whatever, of how you approach your day.
Oh man, that's a question right there. That's a loaded question. So I'm going to tell you, first of all, people ask me, how in the world do you get so much done? How in the world do you build and scale two businesses with all these kids and a wife and try to maintain your health and all the things that you're doing? And I'm like, well, it's simple. It's not easy. It's simple. I have what I call the bookends of your day: morning routine, evening routine, right? How you start your day, how you end your day. They're interconnected. So this book here, Winning the Day: An Entrepreneur's Guide to Morning Evening Routine Mastery, is all about that. It's what I've developed over time, and I learned from people like Robin Sharma, Hal Elrod, Tony Robbins, stuff like that. But I created my own system, my own process. So in my mornings, I very much have a planner, right? So I have a planner, and I believe success is a planned event, right? So you got to plan and structure your day. I pray in the mornings. I do some meditation, I do some breath work, I do exercise, I journal, I do affirmations, visualization, and I just get things done in the morning. So when I start my day that way, right? Mind, body, spirit, and you're looking at all 10 life domains. Michael Hyatt talks about it in his book, Your Best Year Ever. It's amazing how all of a sudden things start taking off, and then it's connected to the evening. Before I go to bed, I have a set of things that I do as well. And I literally checklist it off. I've been doing this for 5 years, but I still have a checklist, and I initial or I check it off and I do it. And it's the similar things. I read in the evening. I do a little bit of reflective journaling. I do some prayer. I do some personal project time, which is really just whatever project I'm working on. If I'm launching a new course, a new program, I'm developing this or that, I give it some time. And then I do commonplacing. Commonplacing is a lost art for the most part, but it's an art of just filing away information for future reference, right? Ryan Holiday does that. Robert Greene does that. Ronald Reagan did it when he prepared for his global talks around the world. He would, go into his filing system and say, okay, what do I need to talk about? Let me pull those categories. And that's how, John Maxwell wrote 95 books, and every single book he wrote is very dense. It has quotes, poems, statistics, all kinds of stories, amazing things. And he's like, is he that smart? Well, he is smart, but he's also a great commonplacer, right? Over years, he files all these things away. So I have a process, and I'm very systematic, and I'm very disciplined about what I do, how I do it, when I do it. And it's amazing. If you master the bookends of your day and you're effective in the morning and in the evening, that's what creates high performance. That's what creates productivity. And that's what creates results, because we're all busy, but few are productive. There's a big gap between the two.
Yeah, that's true. I have a process every day, but I wouldn't say that I wouldn't say I'm as disciplined with it, because I follow a process, but I don't follow the exact process every single day. There are things that I do because I have to get them done. But I certainly follow that process and try and make good use. But it also depends on for us, it depends on the time of year, because for us, there are times a year, like from the beginning of November until now, until probably the week before Christmas, it's all hands on deck. And, we brought on a couple of virtual assistants to help me, because I've got this show, I've got some other personal things going on. And I find myself, I actually had this conversation this morning in the CLA, because I find myself struggling to train them to the things I need. And I wind up thinking I'll just do it myself, which is not the right thing to do.
Yeah.
But that's what winds up happening. And I've got to get them on a better path. like we have one now who's waiting for comments, and there's some things going on the back end of this, and then I get off this call and I think, okay, now we have to do this, this, and this, because even with this show, there's pre-planning, there's post. We break the show up into different pieces. We market it. We continue to market it over the next like couple of weeks, because for us, the show is evergreen and it's going to sit there after it's done, and we build our viewership actually builds as time goes on. And so all those things that they have to do. But so I've got, similar to you, I've got these two businesses. I've got myself and then I've got the business, and I'm terrible at, it's one of my biggest weaknesses. Is managing that process every single day. I have a process. It's just not the perfect process and the exact same process, but I am good at filing comments. I have a system for that, and I do it because that's how I build. That's sort of how I build content for LinkedIn, for some of the blogs we write and things like that. So I am proud of that part.
Yeah, it's amazing. They say there's a famous quote that says, "We don't rise to the level of our goals; we fall to the level of our systems."
Right.
Right. And I don't know who said that, but I've heard that many times. And I think if you have the right SOPs in place, you have the right processes and the discipline to follow through on it, it's amazing the results that you get. Right. And again, people are like, how in the world do you schedule time with your family? Where do you find time to do this and to spend time with your wife and maintain your marriage? I'm like, listen, first of all, I don't find time. I create the time.
Right.
Because there's only 24 hours in a day, and people like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and all these tycoons in business, how do they get things done if there's only 24 hours in a day? And they're super busy, way more busy than I'll ever be, probably, right? But how do they get things done? And it all comes down to priorities, right? So if everything's a priority, nothing's a priority. So for me, I have one priority, right? And then I have three like high level to-do list items. And then of course I have a planner and I have white space, because you need time for yourself as well. And the reason why I have a morning routine and an evening routine is because I got to be at my best in order to pour into everybody else, to pour into my kids, into my wife, into my business, into my clients, into everything else. If you're on E, then you're going to eventually tap out and you're going to cave and you're going to throw in the towel and you're going to feel burnout and you're going to want to just quit and fade away. Right. And that's why people get depressed and go into all these different things, because they're doing too much and they're not pouring back in. So it's critical to have a proper system in the morning and in the evening to fill yourself back up and to refill that oxygen tank, right? And in terms of finding time, I tell people all the time, I find time with my kids. I find time, or I create time for my kids and my wife. I put them first in my calendar. So the first thing that goes in my calendar is my faith, and then it's my family. And then from there, it's my health. And then from there, it's my business. And then whatever's left over, if there's time, then they're going to get that too, right? But that's how it happens. And if we plan our day with our top priorities in mind, it's not so much do I have the time for it, is the question is this a priority? That's a real question.
Right. Yeah, it's a good point. I do have a system. I do put things, I do prioritize. I'm good at that. I'm probably not as disciplined at it as you are, but I do prioritize. I definitely spend time with the family. But there are breakdowns. There's no question about it. I have significant breakdowns, and I try and overcome it with, I do have a team of people, and I do manage them well, and they never leave. They've been with me for years, and but I am trying to bring on more assistants just to help me, because I have another book that I'm trying to finish. I have the business. I have things that I do, and it's just I'm at a point, I think, where I took on some, or self-created some goals that I just have to restructure my management of that process. If that's I don't know if that makes any sense, what I just said.
No, you're basically saying that you're in too deep. You have a lot of things, and you kind of create your own stress because you're taking on you're creating more things, and you're trying to do more things, which creates more burden on your back. And then you're like, well, do I have the capacity to fulfill that? And it's like this like vicious cycle of like, I'm always trying to do more, and I'm always kind of stressing myself out about it. And that's just what we're entrepreneurs. I always say, welcome to the club. That's part of being a business owner.
Well, I don't get stressed out about it.
Oh,
That's one
good.
thing I don't
Good.
do. I don't get stressed out about it, because when I feel that stress coming on, I just take a step back and say, these are the 10 priorities today. I
Yep.
don't need to do this. I don't need to do this. I don't need to do this, but this is what I have to do. And it ebbs and flows. But yeah, it's true. We are entrepreneurs and we do that. And I've been doing it my whole life. I mean, you talked about, learning from failure or failure. I think back, and I still carry it with me to this day, and I still talk about it a lot. And I've talked about it on this show a lot. My first business I built when I was 27 years old. It was an utter disaster. Financially, mentally, physically, it was a total disaster. It was a failure of leadership, failure of management of process. And that is, I was in New York, and that's what got me down here. After I sold it, I came down and went to graduate school at University of Maryland. I didn't do that because I thought I needed more education. I did it because I needed to change the way I thought. I wasn't thinking correctly. I needed to rewire something, which I did get out of it. But I got involved with, there was a company here locally in DC called Sutton Place Gourmet, which were retail stores. I don't know if you remember it. You maybe were around here, not sure, but it's now Balducci's. And I got involved with that, and that was probably the turning point in my life, because there were the senior management, or the owners of the company, were developers, real estate developers. They built part of Reston Town Center, some of the business downtown, and they bought this 2-store company, but they understood how to grow and how to manage very well and how to lead. And that I got involved with them I invested in it, and that was sort of a turning point, because that really helped me bloom. And from there, is when I built the daily markets, and when I built Raw Beauty, and when I built 800 Razors. But I do have a tendency of just going. And but I am disciplined about workouts. I'm disciplined about spending time with my family. I'm disciplined about reading and staying on top of things. But there are times when everything just goes, to pot.
Yeah, and we do our best with what we got, right? I always tell people, it's not so much giving more than what you've got; it's just giving all of what you've got in that
Right.
moment, right? So that's really what it comes down to, and we do our best, and we strive for work-life balance. But I always say it's a lofty aspiration for work-life balance, but I don't think it's an actual thing. I think we are always, in some way or some capacity, we're going to be out of balance, right? We strive to keep it as balanced as possible. We do our best because we care about our business, we care about our clients, we care about our family, we care about our health, we care about all those things. But at the end of the day, we're human, and we're just doing the best we can with what we got, right? So there's that.
What's the name of the book that you wrote?
It's called Winning the Day: An Entrepreneur's Guide to Morning and Evening Routine Mastery.
And is it on Amazon?
It is on Amazon. It's also available for personalized signed copies on my website, which is winningthedaybook.com.
Winningthedaybook.com.
Right.
We'll put that in the show description as well. But I got to read it, because I have to be a little bit. I know I have to be a little bit more disciplined. So you've got what, 15 books you said that you've published?
So I wrote one book myself, this one here, beginning as my book, and then I've co-authored 16 other books with influencers, right? So you find influencers that have big networks, that have fancy titles like international bestseller. You write a chapter, you contribute a chapter into their book, and I've done a lot of really cool collaborations, co-creations with other authors, and just super proud of it. A lot of, I think maybe 5 or 6 of them went international bestseller. All the other ones went bestseller, and it's just a great thing. I enjoy writing. I enjoy adding value to people. I enjoy telling my story while simultaneously mixing in nuts and bolts and just that whole thing. And it's a strategy really for me too. It's not so much just writing a book to say, hey, because at some point people don't really care. Okay, 14 times, 15 times. At some point it's just a number, right? So I think after maybe 3 or 4, it's just a number, in my opinion. So forgive me if somebody's offended by that. But the reality is I do it more as a business strategy, because if I co-author a book, for example, I think I have one that I co-authored right here. Oh, I do, yeah. So for example, here, this is the one I just co-authored recently called Legacy Builders, Leaders of Global Impact, right? So this is, the forward was done by Tim Story, and this is actually the book done by Lori McNeil. And there's a few CLA members in here, but there's a few that are not. So what I do when I co-author a book, it costs money. It's not free to co-author a book. You pay a little bit of money to get into a chapter. But if I pay $3,000 to write a chapter into a book that goes international bestseller, and it gets my reach out there, and I get on all kinds of platforms and interviews and awards and you name it, it helps my social media game. But also outside of the credibility, outside of the authority, outside of the connections, it's also the people that are not in my community in the book. Guess what I do? Hey, we co-authored a book together. You and I should jump on a call and get to know each other better. And then they end up joining my community. So a $3,000 investment on one side of the fence yields a $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 ROI. It just makes sense.
Yeah, I agree with you. I've never written a book to make a profit. It's not there to sell a million books. I don't think that that's ever going to happen. But the first book I wrote was on Amazon, because at the time we were doing a tremendous amount of selling on Amazon and people didn't understand it. This is going back 12, 13 years ago. And I wrote a book on it, and it soon became, outdated because Amazon changes so much, but it opened up doors. That's how we started to get a lot of initial clients. And you're right, that investment in that book and time or money led to probably 5 or 6 clients that pay, significant money every month and are still with us. And the same thing with, I wrote one book just for the fun of it, which was, I wrote Empires and Entrepreneurs, which was just a book about entrepreneurship through history. And the only reason I did it was because I was reading a story one morning about, they had uncovered the tomb in Egypt of this pharaoh Hotep, and they were talking about him as an entrepreneur, and all the things that he did and figured out how to use the Nile to open up ways to sell their products in other lands and things like that. And I just started to think about it, saying, there are so many other people, like Ben Franklin was an entrepreneur, right? And there were so many people through history, right? Leonardo da Vinci, all these people. So I just went and I spent, a couple of weeks just researching it and then put it together. And that was just done for fun. And I gave it out to people. I still give it out to people. It's just for fun. And I give it to a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of people that I coach, because I think you have to, when you start looking at the process of entrepreneurship, or the thought process of entrepreneurship and the way that they went about it, it hasn't changed in thousands of years. It really hasn't changed. There's a need, there's an opening, and you capitalize on it. And so it's the same, the world is bigger and the world is more complex, but at the time, but I'm sure that folks back 2000 years ago thought their world was big and complex. So.
Yeah, I love that. That concept of your book is brilliant. I love the fact that you researched that and dug into it and added value to people. I mean, that's what it's about. That's what it's about.
Yeah. So what do you, I want to get back to the books for a second, because it's really there not only to, help you build your business, but also it's about your personal brand, right? It's enhancing your personal brand, is it not?
1000%. I mean, if you look at any chapter of any book I've co-authored, right? I'll just very quickly here show you something. So these here are the books that I've co-authored, right? So these are all books I've co-authored that I have here, including this one I just shared with you. And then I have these that are under my brand as well, the Connect Leaders Academy, right? These books here. So, but if you look at the theme, Born to Risk, this one is all about business. It's all about, the risking and what it's involved in your risk and why you jumped into entrepreneurship, that kind of a thing. And then there's Family. This one is a dedication to my mother.
Oh, nice.
It was through my mother's eyes. And there's a bunch of ladies in here. And I did this one intentionally because, again, part of my brand is faith, family, and business and that kind of stuff. This one, Impact of Influence, right? It's all about influence and impact. This one here is about forgiveness is for me, not them, which goes back into some spiritual type stuff. More leadership influence, right? Our conversations with the divine, which is spiritual stuff. Spiritual Fitness Survivor, which goes into me as well. Leadership, right? Voices for leadership. the creatives, leadership. I mean, the list goes on. So there's a theme. I don't just co-author any book, right? I co-author things that are in alignment with my brand, with my messaging, with who I am as a person, authentic to who I am. And of course, it has to add value to the readers, of course, too.
Right. So what do you think some of the biggest challenges that you faced in your journey were? I mean, we all face challenges, and then how did you overcome them? Or how do you face overcoming them? I know how I face overcoming challenges, but
Yeah. One of the biggest challenges I faced in the beginning, it was kind of smooth, to be frank with you. Like, it was kind of smooth. It was pretty straightforward. And I was like, man, business can't be this easy in my mind. Right? And like initially, I was like, this is actually not bad at all. Right. Especially as I'm getting profitable. I haven't spent any money. It's pretty smooth. I've had almost no complaints. I'm like, this is awesome. And then I got hit with like a lot of stuff. And again, I'm an open book. So I'm very, there's nothing I hide publicly at all. I just always put it out there because I think it'll help somebody. So I had my first big event. I had a global summit 2024 that happened in May this year, right? It was supposed to happen in October of 2023, right? And I had to postpone it. That was a big hit. That was a big hit because we tried to get the venue. We were trying to get this really cool venue, and long story short is there was some things that didn't happen on one side of the fence in terms of securing the venue. And I, in my mind, I'm thinking, well, the team is going to take care of it. The team has it under control. And the reality is I have to have my hands in everything. I
yeah,
have to have my hands in everything. You can't just assume that people are going to get the job done. You have to inspect what you expect. You got to check in from time to time and at least be aware of what's happening. And that was a learning experience. And so I had to refund some people. Stripe didn't like me for a little bit at that time because I had to refund some folks for different things, and it was just a big, massive headache. And I was like, in my mind, I was like, oh my gosh, my business is crumbling. What's going on here? My credibility, my this and that. But the reality is, so many people are in my corner because I've served them, I help them, I lead them with authenticity and true leadership, right? And I probably refunded like I don't know, 15 tickets out of a couple hundred, right? And most people were like, Jose, we got your back. Don't worry about it. Postpone it, do what you got to do. We're still going to come. We're going to support you, blah, blah, blah. And that was a huge relief. So as scary as it was for me, and it was a lot of money at one time because my tickets aren't cheap. They're anywhere from $500 to $3,000 a ticket. So you can imagine taking that one big hit at one time, then you got to postpone things and all. It was just a big mess. And a couple of the other things happened at the same time. It was like when it rains, it pours. That's
yeah,
just the reality in business. When it rains, it pours, and it all came at one time. And I was just like, oh my gosh, and so on and so forth. So that was a tough hurdle. But what I do understand is I already knew that business comes with challenges. I already know business comes with failures and setbacks. And this is just what it is. I've read about it. My coaches and mentors have told me about it. I've heard about it. I've seen it in other people. So I said, Jose, even if business is not so hard right now, wait for it. It's coming. I don't know how and what shape or what form or when, but sure enough, it hit. And when it hit, guess what I said? Here you are. I knew you were coming. And I'm ready for you. And I'm ready for you. And I got through it because this too shall pass. A great mentor of mine said, Jose, three things. Number one, in all things, give thanks, right? In all things, give thanks. Number two, this too shall pass. And number three, always be willing to ask for help. So I did that. I gave thanks in the time that I didn't want to give thanks, but I said, I'm thankful for this time because it's helping me grow. And I knew that this will pass. And I lived that this will pass. This is just a season. I was like, you're going to get through this. And number three, guess what? I asked for help. And people came to bat for me. And that's part of the deal. And that's what I learned. And it's been great ever since. And we're moving and we're trucking along and we're growing like never before. And but yeah, that was just one of the bigger challenges I had to go through.
yeah. I found that most of the time, and when you talk to enough entrepreneurs, and I've been doing this show for 3 years, most of the time the challenges revolve around some sort of money, some sort of financial part.
Yeah.
And for me, I learned early on that when you have a problem and you can't pay your bills, right? Or you've got, aside from payroll, you can't pay the bills, or you've taken investor dollars, things aren't working out the way that you projected it to be. The one thing I learned is always, always, always be transparent and always be upfront and always be honest about it, because people will give you guidance and help you when you tell them exactly what's happening. But I've seen too many entrepreneurs in my life, when stuff hits the fan, they duck and they hide and they owe money and they don't want to face it. And vendors are calling because they haven't been paid, and things happen. And that's the worst thing, because then the vendor thinks the worst because he doesn't know what's happening. But if you're transparent with everybody and you tell them exactly what's happening, and you lay right, wrong, or indifferent, people will get behind you. They'll support you and they'll help you. But yeah, always ask for help. I always ask for help. I don't think I have a problem asking for help when I need it. So
it's important. We all need to ask for help, and it's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. Your ego and your pride is still intact. It's okay.
That's right. That's right. We've got about 4 minutes left. So quick, what do you think your future vision is? What's next for Jose?
So we're going to get to 1,000 members in a CLA by 2020, the end of 2025. So we're going to double our size. We're close to 500. We're getting there. We had 4 new people join today alone.
That's great.
Right? So we're going to get to 1,000 folks, and that's going to be our next benchmark. And we want to get into 50 countries. Right now we're in 24. So we want to just basically double across the board. That's the phase 1. Phase 2 is I'm going to continue to expand my mastermind. I have a higher ticket mastermind called the Diamond Club. So we're revamping that. We have about 28 people in there, and we're going to expand that and do a bunch of cool things there. And then lastly, I would say is we're going to add a bunch of tech. So I built everything from 0 to 7 figures with no tech of any kind, no website, no funnels, no AI, no CRM, no emails, nothing. Now I'm implementing, as of 4 months ago, we have a website, we have email marketing campaigns I'm starting to create, funnels, all kinds of things. So what's going to happen in the next, I'd say, year to 2 years is we're going to have all kinds of automation and systems in play. The one thing that will not change is every single person that comes into my world has to go through me directly. There's never going to be a link where you can just sign up for anything I do. They have to come to me first, because I vet every single person one by one.
Yeah, that's great. That's a lot. Those are some lofty goals, but I'm sure.
I love lofty. I love to live in lofty. That's how you grow, and that's how you build. And they say shoot for the stars, land on the moon, right?
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. You can't get anywhere if you don't think about it and you don't visualize it.
Right.
So that's great. So just real quick again, your book that you have on winning the day.
Yep.
That's available on Amazon. It's also available on your website.
Yep. Winning the Day, an entrepreneur's guide to morning, evening routine mastery, available on Amazon, but also on my website for personalized signed copies, winningthedaybook.com. People can check out connectedleadersacademy.com to learn more about the community and the tribe and what we're building globally. And if you're not, you have to be a business owner and entrepreneur, of course. And then if anybody wants to connect with me personally, you can check out my social media. I actually hang out mostly on Facebook. I have LinkedIn and Instagram, but if you really want to get to know me, check me out on Facebook.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I spend more time, I find, on LinkedIn than I do on Facebook, but everybody's got,
right.
Their preference for it. All right. Well, we've got less than a minute left. I enjoyed having you on. I thought it was very interesting. I love talking to you. I love listening to you. I love the masterminds. I tend to listen more than I talk on those, just because I love to hear what people have to say and what they're doing. So I look forward to the next one. And again, anybody wants to check it out, check out anything related to Jose and what he's talked about. All the items will be in the description. And until next week, have a great week, and hope to see you all again.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.